It was a blistering summer afternoon in a small town in Mississippi, the kind of town where time seemed to linger and shadows of the past loomed heavy over its streets. James J.T. Turner, a black Marine Corps veteran, stepped off his beat-up Harley-Davidson and adjusted the brim of his faded USMC cap. He had returned home to the small southern town after serving 2 tours in Afghanistan. Though he'd fought valiantly overseas, his toughest battles seemed to always be on American soil. The town had changed little since JT left. The same cracked sidewalks, the same peeling paint on dilapidated storefronts, and the same simmering tension that had been there for decades. JT wasn't looking for trouble. He never was. But trouble seemed to have a knack for finding him. He pushed open the creaky door of a convenience store, the kind that sold everything from soda to shotgun shells. A small bell jingled as he stepped inside. The smell of stale tobacco and floor cleaner assaulted his senses. Behind the counter stood Earl Simmons, a grizzled white man in his late 60s, with a gut that pressed against his flannel shirt. Earl's eyes narrowed the second JT walked in. "Help you with something?" Earl asked, his voice sharp and unwelcoming. JT ignored the tone and strode to the back of the store, grabbing a bottle of water and a small pack of jerky. As he approached the counter, Earl's posture stiffened. His eyes flicked to the tattoos on JT's arms, tattoos that told stories of battles fought and brothers lost. "You sure you're in the right place?" Earl asked, his lips curling into a sneer. JT's jaw tightened. He'd dealt with men like Earl his entire life, men who hid their fear behind bluster and hate. He placed the items on the counter and reached for his wallet. "Just ring me up," JT said, his voice calm but firm. Earl didn't move. Instead, his gaze fixed on the tattoo on JT's forearm, partially hidden beneath his sleeve. It was a symbol JT had gotten during his first tour, a small intricate design that blended the Marine Corps emblem with a set of dog tags. But what made Earl freeze was the name etched into the dog tags: William Billy Simmons. JT noticed the color drain from Earl's face. The sneer disappeared, replaced by something that looked like fear, or maybe shame. "Where'd you get that tattoo?" Earl demanded, his voice trembling. JT pulled his sleeve up, fully revealing the ink. "Billy Simmons," he said, his voice low and steady. "That name means something to you?" Earl's hands shook as he gripped the counter. "Billy was my nephew," he stammered. "Was," JT repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "Yeah, he didn't make it back. We served together. He saved my life out there, took a bullet that was meant for me." Earl looked like he'd been punched in the gut. JT could see the emotions flickering across the man's face: grief, guilt, confusion. Earl had probably spent his whole life hating people who looked like JT, but now he was faced with the undeniable truth that someone he loved had died for a man he might have despised. "I didn't know," Earl started, but his voice trailed off. "Didn't know what?" JT challenged. "Didn't know your nephew bled the same color as me? Didn't know he called me his brother? Or didn't know I'd walk through hell to bring him back if I could?" Earl's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment he couldn't speak. The weight of his prejudice clashed violently with the reality in front of him. JT could see the man wrestling with it, the way so many people did when they were forced to confront their own ignorance. Finally, Earl nodded. I'm sorry," he whispered. It wasn't much, but it was a start. JT didn't say another word. He grabbed his water and jerky, leaving a crumpled $10 bill on the counter. As he turned to leave, he paused at the door. "Billy used to talk about you," JT said without looking back. "Said you taught him how to fish. Said you were the reason he joined the Marines. He loved you, man. Don't let that be for nothing." The bell jingled as JT stepped outside, leaving Earl to grapple with the truth. The small town remained quiet, but for the first time in a long time, change felt possible. And as JT rode off into the horizon, the tattoo on his arm glinted in the sunlight, a reminder of the bond that war had forged, a bond stronger than hate, stronger than fear, and stronger than the past.